Hi, I'm Wayne with Endless Autonomy, and this is my first video where I introduce my channel, Endless Autonomy. So, as the name implies, endless, forever, autonomy, self-thinking, self-governing, autonomous cars drive themselves without any input. So the goal here is for me to become completely independent and in control of my life 7 days a week, doing what I want to do each day when I want to do it. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, anybody who's not independently wealthy or is not retirement age, well, that seems impossible unless you rob a bank or win the lottery, or you invent something really cool that everybody needs to have one of, and you get rich quickly. And there's some people who, maybe working a couple of decades, you can really be savvy with your finances and your investments, and you can attain that level of total autonomy, which is what I'm looking for. But if you're like me, that's, you have to design it. And so I wanted to name my channel Freedom by Design, because what I've done is put together a plan that I believe will allow me to, in the not too distant future, not need to work a day job, to be totally free 7 days a week and get up in the morning when I want to wake up and decide what I want to do that day. And I'd like to do that before I'm too old and decrepit and need to sit in a wheelchair or get around with a walker. I want to still go out and climb mountains and ride my e-bike and go run, and so now's the time to do that. So how can an everyday person like me become independently autonomous without again robbing a bank or inventing something really amazing? And my plan is to do what I call reducing my cost of living footprint. So the cost of living footprint is what it sounds like. If you have a mortgage, let's say you're a younger person in your mid-30s, and you have a wife and some kids, and maybe they're like grade school age, and you have a nice house, and your house payments $2,500 a month, and you and your significant other, your spouse, you have cars, and they're nice, and the payments are $400 a month each, and then you've got to have insurance on the cars and your house, and health insurance. So you add all that up, and it's quite a few $100s per month of insurance. And then that nice house needs to be cooled in the summer and heated in the winter, and you got utility bills, and they're quite a few $100s per month as well. So maybe when you add it all up, your cost of living footprint may be $5,000 per month. And maybe your job, you might not make a whole lot more than that, your net income. So let's say the end of the month, when all the bills are paid, you've got a few $100s left over to do what you want to do. And maybe you save that up to take a nice vacation. So for 2 weeks, you and your family, you take a cruise, or you go to a theme park like Disney, and you have fun. Okay, so for those 2 weeks, you're autonomous. You wake up when you want to, you do what you want to do, and you're thoroughly loving every minute of it. But as the end of the 2 weeks draw near, if you're like me, you start becoming depressed, because the daily grind is right around the corner. And in a few days from now, you're not going to be sleeping in. You're going to be waking up early to an alarm clock, and getting ready for work, and rushing, getting things done, getting animals fed, getting kids off to school, and you're going to go sit in traffic and look at miles and miles of taillights as you inch your way to your job, and you're going to spend the whole day doing what your boss wants you to do. So you're spending 5 days a week, most of the day, doing what your employer wants you to do, and that's called work. For me, that's working in a hospital. I spent many decades in healthcare, starting out as a paramedic in the streets, did that for a couple of decades, and then cardiac cath lab. And it's good work. I mean, you're in there. I'm the person standing next to the doctor, blowing up the balloon, deploying the stent if you need to have a stent put in your heart, And many times we do that procedure on somebody having a heart attack and it saves their life. The feeling that you get is incredible. It's a good job, and don't get me wrong, I love that work. And in the last few years, I've gone into management, so I don't really blow up balloons anymore. Now I analyze people who blow up balloons and look at performance metrics and work on quality improvement and accreditations and work with local EMS. It's good work, okay? But what if 5 days a week I would rather want to get up and go climb a mountain with my camera gear and do photography, or go hang out with my oldest son, has 2 beautiful grandchildren. What if I want to go hang out with them? They live 1,000 miles away. What if I want to go spend time with my mom, who is in great health and does Zumba and still runs the family business? What if I want to go help her with the family business? I can't. I'm kind of tied to a day job. So how do we free ourselves to have more time? Maybe you're that person with the young kids and you're realizing that you and your spouse are spending so much time working that your kids are growing up, and yeah, you're in the same house, but you're not really spending time with them. You're just there, you're coming home, having dinner, maybe you go out and play with the kids a little bit in the backyard, and then you go to bed and you get up and you go to work and you do it all over again, and you live for the weekends, or you live for those 2 weeks when you're on vacation. And I've watched so many people in my career retire, and everybody's happy. We have a big party, hey, Emily's retiring, and or Joe is retiring, and they've worked here for 40 years and now they're going to be able to retire and have fun. And then a few years later you find out that, well, Joe has cancer, Joe had a heart attack, Joe had a stroke, and now Joe can barely get around. So Joe uses a walker, and so you think he's worked 40 plus years, raised his family, and now he gets to enjoy his autonomy tied to a walker, taking different pills every day, and his whole day is going to doctor's appointments. I'm sorry, that is not for me. That is not how I want to live. And if you're watching this, if you're still watching this, if you haven't turned it off by now, then maybe this is ringing with you. Maybe you too are thinking, I don't want my life to slip away. I want to be able to do things with my kids, with my parents, with my significant other, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, and I want to enjoy life. So how do you do that? So this channel, Endless Autonomy, is about my quest to do exactly that. And there's several different parts of this YouTube channel. And I have DIY, I'm into prepping, emergency preparedness, and there'll be videos and links on that. But specifically what I'm starting off with is reducing my own cost of living footprint. And I own a house. I own my house right now that I live in. I pay a couple grand mortgage. So it's a big house, 4 bedrooms, 3-car garage, about 3,000 square foot. Cost a lot to cool it in Florida, and of course the heating's not so bad because it doesn't really get that cold down here. But you get my point. A whole lot of bills. Well, I would like my cost of living footprint, instead of being a size 15 combat boot, I'd like it to be like a baby shoe. Is it possible to be younger and not ready for retirement, but to reduce your cost of living footprint down to just a couple $100s a month? I didn't think it was possible until I saw some videos on tiny houses and tiny living. And so there'll be links, on my site here to some of the coolest ones that I've seen. Tiny Home Tours is amazing. And I started getting ideas, and I watched a video about a lady who was in her early to mid 60s, and she starts off by saying, I worked all my life, I raised my family, but I never really saved. I don't have a 401k. I didn't go to college, so, I didn't have a high paying job. And every dollar that I made went out, to pay bills or put gas in the car, pay for expenses for my kids. And here I am, everybody else my age is retiring, is what this lady said, but I can't. I don't even own a home. I rent. I have all these bills, utility bills. I can't afford to retire. I will quit working the day that I die. And I thought, my God, it's very sad. There are people out there like that who are in that situation, and it's not because they did things wrong. Fortunately, I have a 401k, and I own my house, and I own a rental property as well. But still, I can't just quit work. I need to, if I want to be endlessly autonomous, I need to reduce my cost of living footprint down, again, from that size 15 combat boot down to a baby shoe. So I started getting ideas from tiny home tours and these other tiny home videos. But still, that's not quite for me, because I like to be on the go. If I won the lottery, or, I invented something, that I made a couple $1 million on, and I didn't have to work anymore, I would want to be hiking in the mountains. I would want to be standing on the prairies and looking in every direction. You can see way over on the horizon there's a thunderstorm, and it's 80 miles away. And on the other horizon there's another thunderstorm, and that's 80 miles in the opposite direction. And I can see for several hundred miles. But where I'm at, it's beautiful. The sun is out. There's white, puffy cumulus clouds, and the prairie grass is blowing in the wind, and there's just nothing there but the wind. I love that. Climbing a mountain and watching the sunrise, or actually watching the sunset, because if you're going to watch the sunrise, you got to get up early, and I'm not an early morning person, but I've done it to get the good photograph. So I'd be traveling. So what is it, getting back to my subject here of reducing the cost of living footprint and traveling. And then I saw this amazing video by someone by the name of Chris, and his YouTube channel is Chris Travels. It's this dude, and when I first watched it, he had this bus, this big Bluebird bus, flat nose front, engine in the rear, and he did a roof raise on it, so it was a real tall bus. And this dude's just going all over the country, and he's filming, where he goes, and and his cost of living footprint is diesel fuel, basically, and food. And that kind of struck something with me, that struck a chord. And I'm thinking, wow, that could be me. That could be me with my camera equipment, my Canon camera gear and my tripods, and I could be out there doing photography. And I've taken, that vacation I talked about, doing the 2-week vacation. One time I stayed 4 weeks of vacation, and I took a cross-country photography trip for 4 weeks in my old station wagon. And I had camping gear, and because I couldn't afford motels every night, so I had camping gear. And I went all across the country, and all I did was do photography. And it was incredible. The best 4 weeks of my life. And so, anyhow, that could be me. So I'm looking at Chris Travels and watching his videos. Then I began watching more. And it's another one called Rolling Vistas. And there's a dude in there, and he never says his name. And if he did say his name, I didn't catch it. I've watched a bunch of his videos. And he gets into, like, choosing the right bus. And what type of build are you going to do? And by this point, as you can tell, I'm kind of hooked on, I'm going to become a Skoolie. I'm going to buy a bus, and I'm going to build the bus that I can live in the bus. And watching the Rolling Vistas dude, he said solar energy. He goes, put solar panels, as many as you can fit on your roof, every square inch being solar panels, and you insulate your bus, and then you're totally off grid. And that's a part of the endless autonomy, being free from utility bills, and not having to ever plug in, not having to pay an electric bill. And for me, that's solar, that's windmills. And now, if you're watching this thinking, keep in mind, this got nothing to do with politics. I mean, yeah, solar and windmills are green energy. This has everything to do with not paying an electric bill. And yes, it happens to be green, and it happens to be very, with the environment, very environmentally friendly and environmentally green, which is good. But to be honest, that's not my primary motivation. My primary motivation is to not pay an electric bill. Be like Chris with Chris Travels, or this dude from Rolling Vistas. And then later on, I watched videos by a guy by the name of Jim and his wife. I think her name is Debbie, and they have Life is a Joy. That's the name of their YouTube channel, and it's also on their bus. So now I'm thinking that's the way that I need to go. I need to buy a bus. So I think I've done enough to introduce my YouTube channel, a lot of talking, and I also promised too that my videos are not all talking head, but this introduction one needed to be, where I introduce my YouTube channel. And so a lot of it is about reducing your cost of living footprint down to the size of like a baby shoe or even smaller. And then if you are still young enough and you have the wherewithal to do it, doing some investing in real estate that will also set you free. I was able to do that, thank God. So this channel is about all of that. It's about prepping, emergency preparedness. It's about DIY, doing it yourself. The job is done right, and you save money. There's a lot of advantages of DIY, and it's also about being smart enough to know when you don't have what it takes to do the job, and you need to call in an expert. And I do that too. But anyhow, that's what this channel is about. So I hope you like what you see. If I can help you in any way, that's my goal. And thank you very much.